Welcome to the October 15th meeting of the Wayne City Council. If everybody could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mayor Racy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Porter,
Here.
Councilman Miller,
Present.
Councilman Webster,
Here.
Councilman Dowd,
Here.
Councilwoman Skiff,
Here.
Councilman Wagner.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Okay, at this time, I want to take a moment for a moment of silence. The community lost on October 14th John C. Rowland. He was the owner of Jack's Sports Shop. He was 62 years old and a graduate of Wayne Memorial in 1975. Longtime business owner. I remember getting my varsity jacket from their shop years ago, but just want to take a moment of silence for John. Thank you.
Item number 1 is to approve the agenda.
Move to approve without exception.
Support Dowd.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 is city council minutes. 2A, regular meeting of October 1st, 2019.
Move to approve without exception.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3 is presentations. 3A, Local 1620, Fill the Boot, proceeds to the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for giving us a moment to recognize your firefighters, Local 1620. My name's Aaron Luber. I work for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Something that's a privilege for me to do is represent these families, but it's really an honor to be able to also work with the firefighters. I'm very lucky, in my opinion, to be able to do so. Many people don't realize what firefighters do every year. Not just on the job, but when they get off the job, they're still supporting their community. When they hang up their hats, so to speak, they support a lot of charities like mine. Let me tell you about my charity real fast before we take a photo and recognize these gentlemen for what they've done. MDA, we support about 2,400 individuals here in Metro Detroit. We have 9 families here in Wayne that we also support with services. We have MDA care centers where they get treatment for various specialties, up to 12 different specialties, from cardiologists, neurologists, orthosists, defibrillations, and so forth. We have a summer camp program where we had almost 90 children this year. We have one present tonight with us for this photo, where it's the best week of the year for our campers. It's 6 nights overnight. And then we also have a loan closet. We have research of about $44 million this year nationally that we're putting into research. MDA does quite a lot, but your firefighters also do quite a lot. They make all this happen. For the 65 years, this just happens to be the 65th anniversary of the Fill the Boot program. Firefighters like this Local 1620 have been partnering with MDA to raise money, and they said they won't stop till they find a cure. So we're just taking a moment out to be able to take a photo for them because they really keep serving their community the full time. Much like us, they have Parkinson's coming up, I believe, this month's October, so it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and many other charities they support. We're lucky enough to be one of them, and I just want to take a moment to recognize them, so thank you very much. Last month, they went out on the street. They collected just down here on the corner of Michigan Avenue and Wayne Road, $1,420. That's when the guys came off the shift. They hung up their hat and they went on the street and started collecting for families like the one here tonight. So really, if we could give them a round of applause, I really appreciate it. And for the very official photos I'm about to take, thank you. I'll take the photo if you guys want.
right, everybody, you ready? Smile, one.
Great job, guys.
Item 4 is site plan review. Approval of, 4A is approval of revised site plan, the Senior Alliance, 5454 South Vinoy Road, parcel number 55-023-99-0002-000.
Move to approve.
Second, Wagner.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I stand before you this evening to present a recommended approval for a revised site plan at 5454 South Vinoy Road. This is a project that was brought to you approximately a year ago and approved. I'm going to allow members from the Senior Alliance to come up. Tamara is here from the Senior Alliance. Alan Cruz is here from Hennessy Engineers, as well as Joe Hall. Joe is the representative of the developer of the project, and it would be easy just to sit and talk about this to you and have you vote to approve it, but they actually spoke to the Planning Commission, and I want this body, as well as everyone in this audience, to understand the commitment that Wallach has made, as well as, and I'm going to go through this first and I'll have you come up, as well as the passion they've had to complete this program. As you remember, last month you approved changing of the percentage from 8 to 7 for the pilot, because of an increase in the project size or the number of units. So I'm going to go through this. Again, the Planning Commission has recommended approval, but I would like for Mr. Hall to come up and kind of share with you what they've gone through to this point. If you would look at your packet in front of you, you will know, and as well as there is a photo on the screen of what these units will look like now. They're planning on constructing a 1,235 square foot, 3-story, multifamily senior living building. It'll have a total of 100 apartments, 85 one-bedroom and 15 two-bedroom. There will be ample parking with 100 spaces on site, as well as 30 additional overflow spots to the south and the Senior Alliance property proper. The development is going to occur in the northeast 4.7 acres of the 32-acre parcel. Again, council has recommended, or I'm sorry, Plan Commission has recommended approval. And Joe, if you would come up and just kind of give an overview like you did at Planning Commission and share what you've been through to make this project work.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council folks. Thank you so much for the time this evening to, again, present our project to you guys for a consideration and approval. As Lori has said, we've been working on this project for a decent amount of time now. Just to step back for a moment, we were able to start dialogue with the Senior Alliance middle of 2017. From those efforts and working with you folks at the city, being very supportive of the project, we have applied for LIHTC funding through MSHDA now twice through their competitive round. Unfortunately, neither time were we selected for funding. We don't see that changing in the foreseeable future. Therefore, we changed our approach on how we wanted to approach this opportunity and challenge, for which we have decided to quit trying to compete for the competitive credits and actually go for 4% LIHTC, which is basically non-competitive. If you can underwrite it, you can do it. We are, though, switching gears and going for competitive gap financing through MSHDA. We think we have a much better competitive element to that type of program than the 9%. I won't get into the horrible details of why that is, but nonetheless, we think it's a much more competitive round of funding going that route. So basically, it's the effort that we need to do is to make up the equity loss by not getting the 9%, and only the 4% only brings so much to the table. So again, the Mich to Gap funding goes a bit of the way to get us there. However, we're still about estimated 1.1 million short of making this project feasible. Therefore, Walla Communities has stepped up and decided to fill that gap for the project. Therefore, if we're able to get the competitive Mich to Gap funding as needed, then we can come in and make up the difference and make this project a reality. Some of the changes, though, we've done to try to strengthen the project as we've switched gears is, as Lori has highlighted, we're proposing to make the property, rather than 70 units, we're making it 100 units. That gives us some scale. It also gives us the ability to leverage more debt, which brings more proceeds to be able to build the facility. We have changed the product type a bit. It's still 100% affordable as it was before. However, we have stripped out the affordable assisted living component of the project simply because that kind of component is much more costly than what we're proposing now, which is 100% independent living for folks that are 55 years and older. By taking that component out, we've taken a lot of cost out of the way to be able to hopefully make this project feasible. And the affordable assisted living doesn't provide us any scoring value in this new avenue that we're pursuing. So that's one of the approaches we've taken to try to make this project more cost effective. Otherwise, it's not that much different. The building footprint has extended just a bit to the north. But overall, what we basically are able to do is replace all the common space that was being designed for the affordable assisted living program and replace that common space with 30 more units. So that was pretty exciting that we really didn't need to change the footprint of the building, just really the design of it. But at the end of the day, we're still really excited to be able to present to you folks and continue to pursue bringing 100 affordable units to the community for seniors that are certainly in need of that housing. So that's where we're at. Timeline. So we are pushing towards a November 15th funding application. From that application, we should find out sometime in the realm of February 2020 if we're successful in funding or not. Assuming that we would be successful, we would then work to close on the financing and get the construction drawings done and approved through the city, most likely by, I would say, late summer, early fall of 2020. So not too far from now, be here before we know it. And then we would, at that point in time, start to do construction, go vertical. We expect the construction timeline to be about 12 months. Therefore, we'll hope to have a completed building in the fall of 2021. And then with a very conservative estimate of a 6 to 8 month lease-up period. Therefore, we should have a fully stabilized and fully occupied building. We're hoping to be spring or early summer of 2022. So that's the timeline. That's the different approach that Wallack's taking. And we appreciate your consideration of the project and glad to take any questions that you have.
Any questions from the council? You did a great job explaining everything.
Thank you.
Any questions from,
Mayor, if you could please, upon the final vote, is the approval would also include the 11 conditions as approved by the Planning Commission and accepted by the petitioner.
okay. I think we had a question in the back, I'm not sure. Ms. Pride?
Nancy Pride. I was wondering, in the scheme of the building codes, if they have firewalls, and also where the roof is, if there are firewalls so that the fire doesn't go up over and takes the whole thing out.
They will be building this property according to what is required with the Michigan code. It's required.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 5 is bid awards. 5A is approve the bid award to provide snow removal from various city-owned properties and parks to be paid from major and local streets, city properties, and DDA accounts. Approval subject to a written contract acceptable to both the city and the vendor. The bidders are as follows. Frank's Landscaping of Wayne, Michigan, in the amount of $54,395.55. United Resource of Livonia, Michigan, $67,893. And RNA Facilities Management, Ann Arbor, Michigan, $193,719.
Move to approve
Support.
Frank's Landscaping of Wayne, Michigan for $54,395.55.
Any questions from the council? I just want to say, I'm just excited to see it's a Wayne business that we're able to support somebody that's invested in our community with this, this bid, so that's a good thing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5B is approve the bid award to provide removal and replacement of deficient concrete at the fire station parking lot. Approval subject to written contract acceptable to both the city and the vendor. Bidders are as follows. Bidder, Great Lakes Contracting, Waterford, Michigan, in the amount of $25,579. Century Cement Company of Riverview, Michigan, $28,770. Lacaria Concrete Construction, Detroit, Michigan, $30,545. GM and Sons Incorporated, Whitmore Lake, Michigan, $38,575. Meridian Contracting Group, Washington, Michigan, $39,065. Midtown Group LLC, Detroit, Michigan, $51,953.50. And Quality Construction, Holly, Michigan, $63,725.
Wish of council?
Move to approve Great Lakes Contracting for the bid amount of $25,579. Support. Dowd.
Any questions from the council?
Mayor Racy, through the chair, I just want for clarification that this is just to repair the rough spots of that parking lot, not the entire parking lot? Thank you.
Mr. Byton?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is going to be a removal and replacement project in the parking lot behind the fire station for as much money as we had available through the CDBG grant and a little bit from fire to do some partial removal and replacement. This won't fix all the needs of that parking lot. We'll still have maybe 2/3 left of repair needs in there. But we had some money from the community development block grant that were about ready to expire. We didn't want to lose that, so we captured that for fixing some of the deficient concrete behind the fire station.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Just a question. When we got there, I'm assuming we got a bid. Did we bid what the whole amount would take to repair everything that needs to be fixed? Do we have a number on that?
We did not do that. We don't have the funds for that right now.
Anyone else? Ms. Pride?
I went behind the fire department when I was there for the pancake breakfast, and if that cement is doing that just in certain areas, and we repair at this cost just certain areas, and then the rest of it starts falling apart this winter, that's going to be a problem, because we'll be back at it again. It's going to be costing you maybe twice the amount that you have now. So it's kind of a piecemeal, and I know that they need it done because of them driving back there. It's not good to be going over that kind of stuff. But I just wish you had done a review of the whole area to be done.
Yeah, I think they would have done that if they had the funding for it. This was some funding at the last minute that we were able to get something done, and that we felt it was in the best interest of the community to try to get what we could get done, and then we'll have to still deal with, if there's other issues, we know that we have to deal with that in the future. Anybody else? One more question. Sure.
Are we going to be able to get this done before end of season this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6 is boards and commissions. 6A, approval of the appointment of Patsy Hunt of Evans Street to the Commission on Aging until October of 2022.
Move to approve.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6C, approval of appointment of Francis Bach of Greenbush Road to the Commission on Aging until October of 2022.
Move to approve.
Second, Wagner.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7 is general items. 7A, approval of the proclamation in support of pancreatic cancer.
Could you go ahead and read that for us?
Thank you.
Thank you.
City of Wayne Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Proclamation. Whereas November is World Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas pancreatic cancer is the 12th most common cancer in the world and is estimated that in 2019, 56,770 men and women will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And whereas during World Pancreatic Cancer Day alone, 905 people across the globe will die from this terrible disease. And whereas pancreatic cancer is the only major cancer with a 5-year relative survival rate in the single digits at just 8%. And whereas knowing and listening to your body and understanding the symptoms of pancreatic cancer is key because early detection of pancreatic cancer saves lives. And whereas the good health and well-being of the residents of Wayne are enhanced as a direct result of increased awareness about pancreatic cancer and research into early detection causes effective treatments, and now therefore, I, Mayor John P. Racy, and the Wayne City Council do hereby proclaim support of the month of November 2019 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Wayne, and encourage all citizens to mark their calendars for World Pancreatic Cancer Day, Thursday, November 21st, 2019.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7B is approval of setting a public hearing for November 5th, 2019 at 8 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the transfer of unused 2018 allocated demolition CDBG funds.
Move to approve.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Seven C is approval of alley vacation at J.C. Park and specified rear lots at the Hazel Park subdivision.
Move to approve. Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
7D, approval of lot split number 2019-01 for parcels 55-020-01-1223-000 through 55-020-01-1254-000 and the adjacent vacated alley Haroon Park Number 2 subdivision.
Move to approve.
Support.
Mr. Brighton?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the developer is trying to move very quickly for getting his infrastructure in and developing these lots. We were thinking that we would have had a closing already on this property. The city still owns this property. So I would like to modify the request in the memo to approve this contingent on the closing of the property. The sanitary sewer permit has been expedited. That should come through very soon. They're hoping to have the infrastructure being built in early to mid-November. So that can't happen until the closing is done. So we know the closing is very soon here, but we'd still like to get the approval for the properties to be split.
Mayor, do you need the motion amended then? To include the contingency?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You're fine?
Yeah.
The second's fine? Okay. Okay. Any other discussion from council? Ms. Pride?
I just want to know where this is located.
JC Park. Okay.
No, that's all right.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8, administration reports.
Through the chair, Mike Biden, did you want to come up first? Thank you. There were a few questions we'll address that were asked at the last meeting. Oh, okay, all right. Thanks, Tina. Mike, at the last meeting, there was a question about the Veterans Memorial, the placement next to City Hall on the south side, and whether there was going to be issues or concern, if there was a floodplain issue first.
Right, so regarding the floodplain issue, the Veterans Memorial that's being proposed would be put in the floodplain area. The floodplain area, even though it's technically a floodplain area, practically doesn't work like a floodplain area. We had in August of 2014 a 100-year flood, a 300-year flood. That would be a flood that would have a likelihood of flooding once every 300 years, and it didn't reach the area where this memorial is being proposed. So as far as the floodplain, if we ever did have something more than a 300-year floodplain that would reach that area, these are monuments that we would then come in right behind them and clean them off, and they restore them back to their very nice condition that we will maintain them in.
Mike, there were some questions that have been brought to our attention since last meeting about the Peace Memorial money donated by Ford versus Veterans Memorial. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
I'd be happy to. So initially, the city was provided $15,000 from Ford to help our city. And we thought at the time that it would be best to apply that money, and we worked with Ford so that we were going to apply that money towards the Peace Memorial. We had a committee that worked on the best strategy for trying to maintain the fountain area over there. It's a very difficult area to work with. And so in that committee process, or during that committee process, there was an additional $16,000 raised, but it was raised primarily with the intention of the prevailing thought that was a veterans memorial. In June of 2017, it was pointed out by veterans that it's not a veterans memorial, it's a peace memorial. It didn't have the same significance to the veterans. And so we had the 15,000 and the 16,000 for a total of 31,000 that we had to figure out how we were going to have a veterans memorial to be in keeping with the money that was donated for that purpose. And also, we still had to deal with the Peace Memorial. When we looked at how we could try and, we looked at a bunch of different options of how we could take care of the Peace Memorial. We can't restore that fountain because it deteriorates faster than we can bring it back. And it's we looked at trying to build a roof-type structure over it. We looked at trying to remove it. We had an engineer. We actually had an engineer come on board, and we spent about $6,700 on an engineer to have him evaluate the existing plans and propose to us different options. The options for removal and the options for anything else proved to be exorbitant, far beyond our budget of $31,000. And so we shifted gears and we tried to stick with what the veterans were really looking forward to in a veterans memorial. And so it was decided that the spot just south of the City Hall building here, there's an open lawn area. It's a beautiful area, and it has 6 parking spots that face that area. We're going to convert that into 2 handicap and 3 regular spaces that will be designated for the veterans. So if a veteran wants to come and look at the memorials, but they can't get out and walk, they'll be able to sit in the car and view the memorial from their cars. So the money that we have set aside still is a good start to the Veterans Memorial. We are hoping that more money will be donated, not only for the memorial, but to maintain the memorial over time. That's an important component, but those are our plans right now for the memorial funds. The covering that we ended up placing on the fountain should last us quite some time. It was done very, very well. It is just a covering on a deteriorated situation. So at some point, that will still have to be dealt with, but hopefully many years down the road. So the funds that we have that remaining now can be very much focused on the Veterans Memorial.
Thanks, Mike. And I'd also like to just add that when the veterans spoke to us, as you'll recall, in June of 17, they were worried about accessibility as well. The ability to get from the parking garage down through the plaza over to the Peace Memorial was of concern, and a lot of them, it deterred them from that because some are wheelchair bound, some are on crutches, some can no longer make it that far. So that was part of it as well.
That's right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Mike, there was another question at the last meeting about the former Wayne Bowl. It still has signs on it, bar signs and other signs, and asking when those will be expected to be taken down.
Right, there is provision in our ordinance for when a building is sold from one owner to another owner, to have time to remove that sign. We know that Wayne Wellness is actively pursuing, trying to move into what used to be the Wayne Bowl. And so as a process of them moving forward with construction, that sign will be removed and a new sign will be put up reflecting their business.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Lori? There was a question about the amount of money spent on the old building and engineering building in order to prep it to be sold. Can you please discuss that a bit?
Absolutely. So in order to separate that from the DPW yard, so there was no access for the potential new buyer, we had to contract with a company, and that company was, as you remember, the chamber, oh my goodness. The council approved All Tech Doors in the amount of $18,222. We also had to separate the electrical from the building, the DPW yard, the gas pumps, that was $49,946. And then for whatever reason, the technology, the wiring, the fiber optics for the city's system went through that building, and Telecom removed that for $3,000. There was $71,000 approximately, $71,286 in costs in order to prepare that for sale. If we would not have done that, if you remember, this did deter one of our buyers that we didn't have all this work done. So now it's complete, and I actually, if I can share with you, I have two potential buyers. I have a gentleman I met with yesterday and a gentleman, a broker that was actually here today that has a potential client. So we may have two offers coming in for the Property Disposition Committee this week. And you remember our last offer was about $170,000.
Okay, thank you, Lori. City Attorney, there were two questions at the last meeting. One was to address the question about replacing the boilers at the Recreation Center.
Okay, yeah, thank you. As to that question, our office is currently in discussions with the representative for the current tenant of the Recreation Center. We're seeking records in terms of the maintenance of the boilers, any prior repair of the boilers, things of that nature. So we're in discussions with them to try to determine any previous efforts that have been undergone to try to maintain those boilers.
Thank you. The other question was, the resident's question was, how does anyone know if it is up for sale?
My understanding is that there was a pre-bid meeting for some brokers that the city is going to be selecting a professional licensed broker to market the property. It's going to be a bid process, so I would imagine there are going to be several brokers that are going to be bidding for the opportunity to market that parcel. So once that happens and a broker is selected, the city would be relying on their expertise and professional judgment to determine what the best way would be to market the property.
Thanks, Mike. And if I could have Chief Strong come up. We have some great news that we received on Friday. I'm going to have the chief talk about it.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As City Manager Nasserini said, we have some great news. Earlier this year, with the assistance of City Manager Nasserini, the police department applied for a what's called a JAG burn grant, Justice Assistance Grant, for some technology needs of the police department. We found out on Friday we got the grant for $76,000. It's great news, obviously. So it's going to fill some gaps in the police department budget for some technology needs that we desperately needed. The largest thing is new in-car computers. Officers do a great deal inside the police car. It's like their office. So we're able to get all new in-car computers, printers, so they can print out citations, unfortunately, and other things they might need. Also, some technology for traffic crash investigation, and just some other things we need within the police department. Just one other thing, I believe someone mentioned toward the beginning of the meeting, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The police department, just as a token of trying to increase awareness about breast cancer, we made up these pink bracelets to support awareness for breast cancer awareness. We're selling them for $5. The money will go to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. I have some available with me tonight. If you're a survivor of cancer, I'd be happy to give you one for free. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Congratulations again. And then I had another grant that we received notification on through the Burn Justice. There's two components. There's a police component and there's a youth assistance component. And my company was able to assist Barb with the Youth and Family Services Department with the help of the team with $85,000 grant, which will be utilized to implement what is called the BOTFIN Life Skills Training Program. And what this is it's a substance abuse and violence prevention program for kids that they work with. So that was another $85,000 day. So we had, it was a great day for the city. Thank you. Tina?
Thank you. I just wanted to talk about the scarecrow contest that's been going on through the Wayne Main Street. Tomorrow in Derby's Alley from 4 to 7, please come and vote for your favorite scarecrow. I know that a lot of people have been working hard on this, including one of the staff members in my office, Angie, working very hard among other people on this. They have live music planned, cider and donuts, free hot dogs to go to the first 100 people who come to cast a vote. The winners will be announced for the Facebook contest, People's Choice, and the Judge's Choice. So stop by. That's in Derby's Alley tomorrow from 4 to 7.
Thank you. Mr. Bills?
Good evening. Tonight's sesquicentennial minutes is going to be a little bit different than the past ones. I'm going to do a historic snapshot from newspaper headlines from 100 years ago, and at the end make a public service announcement. Mrs. Harold Bennett, wife of Dr. Bennett of Dearborn, died at her home in that village. The deceased was well known in Wayne, being the daughter of Hiram and Cordelia Butler Akins of this village, and her demise is mourned by a host of intimate friends. She is one of the most popular young ladies in both Wayne and Dearborn. Dr. Bennett is also reported as being seriously ill. Edna Ferguson, 8-year-old daughter of Mr. and Mrs. James Ferguson, died at their home on the Merriman Road. The little girl was ill but a few days. She is survived by her parents and 3 sisters. Emil Rands, aged 17, son of Mr. and Mrs. Adolph Rands, died at his home some 5 miles northeast of Wayne at an early hour Tuesday morning. He is survived by his parents and 1 sister. Mr. and Mrs. Jeff Smith received word Tuesday morning of the death of their daughter, Mrs. Emery Alta E. Hicks of Plymouth. The deceased was 26 years old and was popularly known in Wayne, having made her home in this vicinity all her life. Now, these notices were from the December 13th, 1918 newspaper, Wayne newspaper, in an article titled, 4 Deaths is Week's Toll from the Latest Epidemic. The subtitle was that the Spanish influenza in new outbreak results fatally for residents of Wayne and the vicinity. From the companion article, Influenza is Causing Alarm Around Wayne, we learned that the Spanish flu had been circulating the area since October of that year, but was increasing greatly in the first 2 weeks of December. Dr. R.B. Hogue, was advocating that victims and those exposed to them be quarantined to prevent the spread of the malady before it becomes too widespread to stop. So far, over the past 2 weeks, 50 cases had been reported in this vicinity. Perrinsville reports that practically every family was down with influenza, and other rural communities are equally unfortunate. Wayne itself has a score of such cases, which for the most part of the mild form, but doctors took for a spread of the epidemic within the town from mingling with others. The conditions of Nankin Township and Wayne was deemed serious, with doctors asking government officials and residents to implement preventive measures. As of that time, the Spanish influenza had caused over 6,000 deaths in Michigan, my great-grandmother, Louisa Emma Bowden Mills Manier, being one of them. History has a way of repeating itself, so please do your part to prevent the spread of communicable diseases. Get your flu shots. The life you save may be your own.
Mayor and council, that'll conclude my report.
Thank you.
Public comments for matters not on the agenda. Pursuant to the Michigan Open Meetings Act and the enacted procedures and rules of City Council, now is the time for public comment. Any questions will not be answered this evening, but the appropriate person will make their best effort to respond by the next council meeting or as soon as possible, provided you state or leave your contact information with the city clerk. Approach the podium and state your name. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Ms. Pride?
Nancy Pride. The Peace Memorial, I know doesn't have any water features in it because of the plumbing and the issue of the pump and that kind of stuff. But have you ever thought of doing fiber optic wires or those things that they do that make it look like there's a fountain there? You could even change the colors to represent breast cancer or some other issue that's we're supporting in the city. The other thing is that you're going to have to change the name of the street that goes into that off of 2nd Street, because that does have Veteran on it, Plaza. So you're going to have to change it maybe to Peace Avenue. Thank you.
Mr. Blackwell?
Good evening, Mayor and lady and gentlemen of the council. It's hard to believe we're approaching the end of October and the end of 2019 is creeping up on us very shortly. I just had a question. What is the status of the, what do they call it? The storage facility that was supposed to be built next to the police department? Because I haven't been attending any planning commission meetings, and I'd like to know what the Metro Storage, am I correct? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to know what the status of that property was, because like I said, we're coming up on the end of 2019 and I'd like to see some development happening there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Mills?
Yes, on behalf of the Wayne Historical Society, I'd like to invite everyone this Saturday from 7 to 11:30 to stop by the museum. Tickets are $5 for the Happening Chapter 2. It's a fun Halloween event. The museum inside will be decorated heavily for the holiday. And we'll have Wayne Memorial Drama students as well as society members that will be playing historic characters of Wayne with a rather twisted history. And that, so this Saturday at 7, The Happening Chapter 2 opens at the museum. And then next week on the 26th, we have the Great Lakes Ghost Hunters back at the museum, again from 7 to about 11. And they do paranormal readings, and guests will be able to assist in using their equipment and searching for ghosts at the museum. I don't think I mentioned it, but the Happening this Saturday, it's $5 per person. For the ghost hunt on the 26th, that's $25 per person. You can get your tickets at Eventbrite or at the door. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, go ahead and move the agenda.
Item number 9, items for next agenda.
Okay, go ahead and move the agenda.
Moving on, item number 10, consent calendar. The items under the consent calendar are the Wayne Public Library minutes of August 14th and September 11th, 2019, the Wayne Planning Commission minutes of September 10th, and the Wayne Downtown Development Authority minutes of September 11th, 2019.
Wish of council,
Receive and file.
we need a motion.
Motion to approve without exception.
Second. Wagner.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Comments from members of the city council.
Councilman Wagner?
Nothing for tonight, thanks.
Councilman Dowd?
Thank you, Mayor Racy. Some of the events that are happening in October have already been mentioned. For example, the Scarecrow event tomorrow at Derby's Alley, as well as some of the events that are occurring at the Wayne Museum. I want to mention that these events that do occur do help support the Wayne Historical Society and our museum and our community as a whole, of some of the organizations that continuously do all kinds of good things in our community. Also, I want to mention the Hype Athletics is having a Halloween costume fun retreat event on 10/27 between 2 and 6 at the Hype Center. Also, I just want to mention something about the pancreatic cancer for a minute. First of all, is that all cancer is evil, is terrible, okay? There's not a person in this room or in this community that doesn't affect and touch in some way, shape, or form, including myself. I know pancreatic cancer, beginning next year, will be the second leading cause of death in the United States. And as well as all the other cancers, they all have one thing in common. It's an abnormal cell that attacks our bodies and at different levels. And pancreatic cancer is probably the most difficult one to deal with because the fact of the survival rate is less than 10%, as indicated. I just ask this community to continue to support all these fundraisers to find research for cures and for additional means of fighting all these forms of cancer in our society. This has been a lifetime of fighting cancer. You know, I hope someday in our lifetime that we'll be able to find the cure for it. But in the meantime, we are making strides. The medical community is making strides in treatment for it. We have to also do our part in changing our lifestyle, quite frankly, and going for those early detection with the doctor to try to minimize the amount of lost lives and just the grief that families endure because of lost family members. So with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Councilman Dowd, did you have anything?
Me? Thank you, Mayor. Just want to first say thank you to Wayne Fire Department for their efforts and their commitment to the MDA and translating that to the money for those very needy families in our neighbor. Also, Chief put me down for 6 of the bracelets, and I know I have my favorite Scarecrow. There's fantastic to see the collective neighbor, everybody getting together and seeing what has come to hang at the light poles is fantastic. I think this year's are just spectacular. And lastly, I'll say Happy Halloween to everybody.
Okay.
With that, I'll pass.
Okay, Councilman Webster.
Nothing tonight.
Councilman Skiff.
I'll just echo what Councilman Dowd said. Want to say happy Halloween to everybody. And also wanted to once again thank Lisa and her Nasrini Strategy Group for the grant money that they brought for our police department and also our youth. Thank you very much, Lisa, for your hard work. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I'm going to shift gears here and speak to the members sitting up here. Tonight, I sent an email to our city clerk and our city manager outlining some of my thoughts and concerns on the items we discussed at the study session. I would like to ask each council person to email them and tell them how they would like us to proceed at this time. Should we do another study session? Should we put items on the agenda for council approval? We can't discuss them here. We need to have a study session if you need further discussion. So I'd like to have all of the members of council email the city manager and the city clerk and explain to, or tell them what you would like to do, whether you want another study session or do you want to just put items on the agenda for approval. We have the city clerk has given us some timelines here and time's wasting. We don't want to waste too much time. We have to get the ideas that we want to put on the ballot approved and get the language approved before we put them on. So I would like to get this moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple things. I wanted to just thank the firefighters. They did a great job with their pancake breakfast. They do it every year, and they always do a great job. So, Jeremy, could you tell everybody thank you? And then I just want to thank everybody involved in the Peace Memorial renovation on that. That is looking amazing from where it was. I mean, I'm very pleased with the results for the money that we had to work with. I think that we've done a really nice job to make that a better solution with the budget constraints that we had. So thank you to everybody that were involved in that. And then the last thing I want to just talk about is I want to thank our volunteers that come out and do things all the time. I think that our volunteers get lost in the shuffle sometimes, and the same thing happens with our council. You know, just take a minute when you see somebody that's doing something good in the city, and just thank them for what they're doing. It means a lot, and just don't forget about it. Just that little thank you could keep making things happen in our community. So, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.